the comic book show, comic book series, I should say. Eric, when the comic book series first came out in digital, what did you think of that book? I mean, I don't know if you got to play the game much at all, but the comic book series, fleshed out the entire backstory. You got to find out exactly why Superman kind of turned evil, and I mean, and as GQ says, evil is a matter of perspective, and certainly that bore out, in this story, in regards to Superman and his motivations and kind of what made him snap. I mean, everybody that's a DC comic book fan always thought that the Joker would get Batman to really cross that line, and what he ended up making Superman cross that line, which might have even been an even bigger joke, to make Superman, who was supposed to be above all of that kind of stuff, go into a murderous rampage where he just took over the world. So, speak a little bit about the Injustice series for those of us that, I mean, for those out there in Junkie Nation that haven't read it yet or don't know much about it.
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is I did have the Injustice game, and I say that past tense because I sold it like a month later or something. Me being the big DC guy, I did not like that game. Aside from the story mode, I didn't like the gameplay. I thought the fighters controlled like two rusted robots. It was easy to pick up, but after like the millionth time you do the super moves and the knock throughs, I couldn't take it anymore. I thought I saw everything, and I remember I bought that game with birthday money too, and then the comics came out, I think, a few months before the game dropped because it's from the time Superman killed the Joker to the time the game started. There was that 5 year gap. That's why we have the Injustice. Year 2, 3, 4, and 5 now. It's filling in each year, and I was really digging the Injustice comics at first. I was saying, these are the most interesting Justice League comics in a few years.
Hmm.
And Tom Taylor is a fantastic writer in his own right. He's currently doing Green Lantern Core Edge of Oblivion for DC, and he did a 3 issue arc for Batman Superman. I didn't get to read that arc, but one of my other reviewers at Dark Knight News, he gave that arc top marks, and apparently Tom Taylor approved of one of his reviews of it, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, the Injustice comics, as good as they were, I had to stop that I spent $60 on that game. Um, and then I was Gods Among Us Year 4 annual #1, which kind of should have been Year 5 #1 because they did send me Year 5 #1, but nothing after that. I did give both books decent scores. I can't remember what I rated them, but it would have been nothing below like a 7 or 8. Um, but it was really year 5 #1 read like a year 5 #2, if you know what I mean. You really had to read that year 4 annual. So if anyone out there into this and keeps up with those comic books, you really need to read those annuals they throw in there as well,
Yeah.
because they are important. They're not throwaways.
No, they're not. I mean,
Um,
everything in the Justice comic book,
yeah, you die hard,
yeah,
you
it's
kill
so important. It's all of it
something.
is so important to the entire story. I mean, I like what I like the most about the story is not only just Superman's kind of story of, and even at some point he kind of struggles with the thought, or the notion of taking over the world, and he feels emboldened by, by the memory of Lois, and what happened to her, and the other emotional effect that it had on him, and then also just the war where we had, longtime friends, stabbing each other in the back, and betraying each other. You saw a Yellow Lantern Superman. I mean, like dude really needed more power anyway. You also had, You had Batman going to extreme lengths. You had Lex Luthor kind of joining the, for lack of a better word, joining the side of the Angels to try and get uh, to kind of try and restore some order. You had Wonder Woman, get into like a romantic type of thing with Superman, and oh, that entailed Waffles. What did you think? What do you think of the Injustice God Among Us books?
I have them all, and I'm gonna take a page from Darian. Have them, haven't read it yet,
Oh,
but
you're
I've
doing
heard
yourself
nothing
a
but good things
disservice.
about. Yeah, yeah. I need to pick them up, and I need to check them out before that game comes out. But yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about them so far. So I probably later this month I'll read year one
Yeah,
and
you
try
need
to
to
get
read them.
caught up.
You do need to read them. GQ, I know for a fact you've read the books. What did you think about the Injustice books?
I enjoyed them. I mean, what I've read so far, and just like I said, I like seeing when super duper Boy Scout characters turn dark or have something that pushes them over the edge out of the light into the dark, so to speak. And seeing what Superman did to the Joker, seeing that transformation of what I've been for lack of a better term, been saving cats out of trees and doing all this stuff and not making much of a dent.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just use my power to its fullest and take over and make these people essentially, peaceful or essentially like, look, the only way it's going to work is if you guys basically follow what people to do, and I like that, and it's very much parallels Sinestro. He on his world he did basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm. He
So it
did.
was cool to see that, yeah. So it was cool to see that Superman have that same type of fall where it's like, damn, imagine if that. But it's like that would just be like, it'd be interesting. It would make things different. It'd be like, okay, well, how do you stop a guy that has that much power?
Exactly.
And and then the course of the things that they do in the books, and of course, throughout the course of even the game, it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. It makes for a good narrative. I mean, again, like I said, for a fighting game, it had much more story than any other. Mortal Kombat is the only exception. It had more
Mm-hmm.
story than any fighting game of the time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just a big bonus, I think. And and like I said, I love the book so far, and I'm a couple years behind now that I'm finding out since I'm doing it via graphic novel because comics are expensive.
Oh, no
But
doubt.
it's gotten to that point where it's like, what, you see I've got all the stuff behind me. Most of my money, disposable, goes to the collectible stuff, and I'm better off just getting the comics when they're collected volumes. It's easier.
A worthy endeavor. A very worthy endeavor, if I must say so myself. Okay, guys.